this is week 4 of our Wednesday webinar, the Credit Mastery Action Plan. And so we started this little subset of the series last week. So we thought it was just going to be 2 weeks, but it's actually going to carry over to 3 weeks. All right, so today we're going to talk about calling and writing your way to success. We're going to stop hoping for better scores and we're going to start demanding them. Now, in this webinar, in this credit and homebuyer education series, we break down important topics to help you improve your credit, understand the mortgage process, and confidently prepare for home ownership, especially here in Texas. So in today's class, we're talking about the action plan. Again, scripts and letters and why it matters if you're planning to buy a home, refinance, and or strengthen your overall financial foundation. By the end of today, you will know exactly what to do when a credit bureau comes back with your dispute and says verified, and how to force the next move. All right. So phone scripts, certified mail, and dispute letters, the anatomy of that and the calling strategy. So you'll first start off, we asked you to pull your credit reports last week, so hopefully you've done that. But once you get those credit reports in hand, the first thing you want to do is the administrative cleanup. So your personal information like names, addresses, phone numbers, okay? And we're going to do that. We can make phone calls for that. We want to leave the disputes for collections and late pays and things like that. Credit bureaus are under fire. We're seeing that a lot of the personal information is being deleted just with a simple phone call. So there's that. And, rules for credit repair change all the time. So the phone cleanup script. You're going to use this for misspelled names, old addresses, and wrong employers. You're going to say, hello, my name is Daphne Brown. I'm reviewing my credit report and I see several addresses, or one or two, or whatever applies for you. And I see several addresses and name variations that are inaccurate. These do not belong to me and create a risk for identity theft. Ring, 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 ding, ding, ding. Those are the trigger words, okay? Identity theft. So you have their attention at that point. And then you proceed by telling them, I need these deleted immediately to ensure that my file is 100% correct. And then you proceed to give them your file number if you have it, your social, because they'll need a way to bring up your account. You're going to always stay polite, but be firm. If they resist, you'll just simply say, well, the Fair Credit Reporting Act requires you guys to maintain accurate info on me. Please escalate this to your consumer affairs department. And normally that does the trick, okay? Now, the Fair Credit Reporting Act gives 30 days to investigate. If you don't have a tracking number, then you can't prove when your 30 days started on that dispute. So this is why you always want to send all of your disputes certified, okay? So the secret source rules, don't use legalese. So don't come in like you're some type of attorney, because we're not. You want to present yourself as a real person with a real concern about what's on their credit and a real need for their help in fixing whatever's on your credit that's incorrect. So you're going to write like a real person, not a robot. In today's age of ChatGPT and Gemini Google, you can simply if you can upload the page on your credit report that has the information that you are asking them to help you with. You're going to say ChatGPT or Google, analyze the document that I just uploaded, and I'd like to dispute fill in the blank, right? And that way, because I'm gonna give you some templates and some letters, but if you do it that way, then all of the letters are going to be totally different, and that is going to be customized to you. Because sometimes the credit bureaus will use automated systems to read your letters, and if they're sounding so much like other letters, they'll kick it out. The computer will kick it out. So with today's use of ChatGPT, you can really get into the issue and get them to spit you a letter out that addresses your issue with the credit bureau. So again, don't use legalese, write like a real person, not a robot. Highlight the inaccuracies, tell them if the balance is wrong, if the last date of activity is wrong, or if it's not your account at all. You want to be specific, but you do not want to help the credit bureaus do their job, okay? We're going to give them just enough, but they need to do their own job. All right, so you're going to include in your identity packet for every single dispute that you send out and put in that mail, you're going to include a copy of your driver's license. I always, when I'm doing credit repair for clients, I always make sure that the driver's license or the valid ID or passport, I make sure that I get those copied in color, because if I don't, you do it in black and white, you do run the risk of the credit bureaus telling you, we can't even identify you. We can't read this, what's on this driver's license, right? So if you do it in color, then that cuts down on that. You want to include a copy of your social security card and a bill. Now, the bill needs to be dated within the last 60 days at the address that you want them to send your disputes back to you. Okay, so the responses, what address do you want them to send it to? It has to be on that bill. Now, don't just go using any bill, because any bill won't cut it. So if you have a pay stub, you can send that. You can send any utility bill, water, gas, lights. You can do, I said pay stub, W-2 works. You can send that. But all of those things will help cut down on them presenting a letter to you that says, we can't verify your identity. And with the uptick of credit repair companies out there, they'll send something like, this seems like it came from a third party. We want to verify your identity. And so what that does is it pushes it back, and it's a stall tactic. Well, once they do that, then you can come back and say, listen, I sent you information that verifies who I am, and now you have 15 days instead of the 30. So make sure you send all that. I typically, like I said, when I'm doing credit repair, I'll make like 15 or 20 copies of the driver's license, 15 or 20 copies of the social security card, and 15 or 20 copies of a bill. And I just kind of staple 33333. And as I'm doing the disputes, I'll include that identity packet in there. So that just kind of helps if you do it that way. Now, here is the anatomy of a winning dispute letter. Paper beats digital anytime. So remember, we talked last week about how you can give up some of your consumer rights if you are disputing things online. So we just talked about the identity packet. And then now the reason. So the anatomy of a winning dispute letter includes the identity packet, the reason, and the evidence. So the reason, use words like inaccurate, outdated, unverifiable, or new info needed. And again, I just stated that sometimes the credit bureaus have computers reading these disputes. And so when you use specific trigger words, then that gets it from the computer to an actual person. And we all know that is so many people in the world, they are not trying to go through, they can't, it's impossible to go through every dispute. So a lot of times it's just, we're going to go ahead and delete this, right? So use those trigger words, add those to your list. And then for the evidence, so you are going to always, every time you dispute something, you're going to get that page or those pages that contain the errors, and you're going to circle it, right? And you're going to include a copy of that in your actual dispute letter, in your envelope. So they won't say, well, we don't know what account you're talking about. No. I made it easy for you. I have my identity packet with my social, my driver's license, my bill. And now I'm telling you I'm showing you the exact account that I'm disputing. So that way they won't, typically send back with a stall. All right. So again, we're going to always send certified mail with return receipt requested. And when you send your certified mail, that tracking number right here starts the 30-day investigation window. All right, so the rules of the game, the action plan. So I told you last week that I wanted you guys to have some type of way of keeping up with what you're sending out. We talked about, you needing to be able to be have everything organized and be able to know when you send what to what credit bureaus, right? So this kind of breaks it down a little bit more. Again, I'm old school. I like to write stuff down in a planner on actual paper, but you can put it in your phone too. We have these smartphones. So 30-day battle plan is step one. Dispute all of the wrong personal information first. And last week we again talked about what's the reason you should do that. It's because if you get all that bad stuff off of there, and now they're disputing with those smaller secondary bureaus, if they're disputing DAPHANIE, do y'all remember that? If they're saying that, then hey, I've already gotten it off my report. So guess what? The information headbutts each other, and then it has to come off because they're not reporting good information. All right. So no, day one is to dispute all the wrong personal information first. Step two, which is day 14, you're going to dispute those inquiries that aren't tied to an open account. So I know we're regurgitating information from last week and the weeks prior, but this is because it's very, very important. Step three, day 28, not day 26. If you know, you know. Day 28, you're going to dispute up to 3 negative accounts, either late pays or collections. Okay. Shellery got that. I know I got music heads on here, so I know y'all got that. So only 3 accounts at a time to keep from getting the frivolous label, right? And number 4, the rule of 3. I just said no more than 3 accounts at a time. Now, included in your email, you have the credit mastery plan. There was not a link, and that was done on purpose because I want you here. I want to spend some time with you. But this credit mastery toolkit, and I'll show you here shortly, it includes some sample dispute letters, templates. It includes some call scripts. It includes the mailing directory for the credit bureau. So that's going to be really good information that you can use and have it as an aside as you are having your credit reports to one side. You can kind of use that for an idea on how to proceed. All right. So what to do when the credit bureau says verified? Okay. Miss Miriam, this account belongs to you. I ain't gonna even pick on you. Daphne, Daphanie. This Pallet Roll account belongs to you, girl. This Dillard's account belongs to you, girl. This FNANB account belongs to you, girl. Not me, girl. So what does verified actually mean? Well, when a credit bureau says an account has been verified, it don't really mean that the information is correct. It only means that the furnisher has responded, okay? The furnisher responded and told them, this is verified. That alone changes how people think. Because some people go, oh, they verified, I'm gonna leave it alone. No, 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 no. The little engine that could, okay, keep it going, keep it going. The credit bureau does not investigate your account. They simply ask the creditor or the smaller bureaus that we talked about last week, does this belong to Daphne? And if the creditor says yes, even without proof, the credit bureau marks it as verified, right? So no documents are required in most automated verifications. And I just said a lot of the times it's done automatically. This process is often done electronically in seconds. And that's why the Fair Credit Reporting Act gives you follow-up rights. So this is why our credit mastery course goes beyond TikTok disputes. We teach follow through, escalation, and strategy because homebuyers don't have time for guesswork. So again, here is your credit verification flow. Number 1, you dispute the accounts with the credit bureaus. Number 2, they come back and say verified. Number 3, we're going to get into the MOV, not MOB, MOV, method of verification. So once they tell you that it's verified, I need you to tell me how you verified it. Show me the verification. Did the bureau provide proper proof? And if the creditor fails to produce what you're asking, then it has to come off. If the credit bureau does respond with the information that you're asking, then at that point, you can go to the actual creditor and try to work out an arrangement. So again, day 0, or day 1, you're going to submit your dispute. Day 30, bureau response verified. 31 through 45, you're going to send your method of verification letter, and they have 15 days to respond. No proof, that means it has to come off. Sometimes they do get stubborn, so you'll have to escalate it, okay? Now, this flow is simply the legal path that you follow after a bureau says verified. It answers one question. They say it is verified, now what? So again, you're going to start off with the big 3. If the account is inaccurate, if you're telling them that account does not belong to me, you can dispute it online. But again, we said doing it online is weaker, but by mail is slower, but it's preferred if home ownership is, what you want to do, if that's your goal. This matters because it forces the bureaus to contact the creditor and ask, is this information correct? Sometimes they don't do that. But again, if they don't, then they don't have what you're requesting. And so we're going to move the needle and move forward with our next step. And like I said, if they do say that it's verified, that's not the end. But we got something for you, because 9 times out of 10, if this is an old account, then that was sold. And we'll get into that in just a second. But if they do not provide proof, this looks like you don't get a response from them. You get a generic letter. You requested documents to show the method of verification. You didn't get that, and you don't have any verification details. Remember, I said who they talked to, when they talked to them, what the documents were. Well, if they don't give you those verification details, they failed their legal obligation. So you can demand deletion, file a CFPB complaint, or point out failure to comply with Federal Credit Reporting Act 611. And this is where many accounts get deleted. All right. So a lot of people don't make it that far. They give up before they get to the glory, but you have to be all in. So if they did, like I said, if they do provide the verification, that is when you go to the creditor and try to work something out with them. When you are disputing directly with the creditor, here is what you ask. Do you guys have the original signed contract? I need that. I need a copy of my payment history. So that means if I've had this car for 10 years, I need my payment history. If your records are good, then you should have that, right? They, not you. I need proof that you have the authority to report this. And if it was sold to a collection agency, this is who you will be talking to. So say, for instance, I called and Dillard said, hey, D Brown, we no longer own that account. We sold it. So you sold it to ABC Collection Company. So now I'm talking to ABC Collection Company, and I need to see the chain of ownership and if they have the proper authority to report it. This works because if I'm telling you ABC Collection Company has it, then 9 times out of 10, I'm going to say 10 out of 10, they don't have that original paperwork. If they purchase the debt without documentation, then they can't legally validate it. Okay, so if you learn nothing else, boom, there it is right there. A creditor fails to produce the contract or proof. If they fail to produce that information, meaning they don't have the contract, they don't see your signature there, that means that records are incomplete, and they are reporting unverifiable information, which is against the Fair Credit Reporting Act. So we're going to file with the CFPB. We're going to file a state attorney general compliant letter and demand deletion for noncompliance. This is where pressure works. And I'm telling you, if it hasn't already been deleted, it typically gets deleted here because you're threatening them at this point, like they threaten us when they call us. All right. So you're going to, if they are able to give you this information, if they're able to provide you with what you've requested, what you're going to do is evaluate all the paperwork for accuracy. That means you're looking at dates, you're looking at balances, you're looking at late payments. And then if all that lines up, then you can negotiate for pay for delete or settlement, or you can do a goodwill deletion. And basically you just tell them, hey, this is why, I had a baby or whatever, and, see if you can't get a goodwill deletion. Now, this is what I want to tell you guys, okay? You Before you start credit repair, and I failed to say this, before you start credit repair, what you want to do is to make sure that you are current on your accounts that are on your credit, that are listed on your credit. If you're not, all the credit repair from the best credit repair people in the world is not going to help you, because what's happening, or what will be happening, is as you're working to get the negative stuff off, you're constantly being hit with late stuff. So off, back on, off, back on, off, back on, right? So you want to make sure that you have made at least 4 months worth of on-time payments for everything on your credit report before you start credit repair. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. All right. So this flow that we just talked about is powerful for home buyers because it stops you from having to repeatedly dispute things. It builds a paper trail that lenders respect. It protects your mortgage eligibility, and it prevents unnecessary credit score damage. So keep all that paperwork, because you may need it. You know, something may pop back up on your credit and you're like, well, no, I already took care of that. If you have your paperwork, then it makes it a lot easier. Credit repair isn't about removing accurate information. It's about removing information that can't be proven. Listen to me, Linda. So think of it like a court. The Bureau makes a claim and you ask for evidence. If they can't prove it, it don't belong on my report. Now, here is medical debt and credit reporting. Whew, this is an update from 2026. This is a lot. I'm not reading all of this. I'm just going to tell you, remember, they told us medical debt cannot go on our reports, but it was always capped off at a certain amount. So the update is there was a $500 threshold. So any medical collection with an original balance under 5 is banned from credit reports, right? That's what the people said. The paid rule was once a medical debt is paid, it must be removed entirely. Okay. It will not show up, not even as a paid collection. It's just gone. A 1-year grace period. So if you have a medical account and it's 10 months and it's, let's say, $1,000, they can't report it until it's 1 year old, and it has to be over $500. Now, what can still be reported? If a bill doesn't meet the banned criteria above, it can negatively impact a credit score. High value unpaid debt, unpaid bills with an initial balance of 500 or more, or long-term delinquency. Now, the federal ban failed. Yep. Okay. Are you surprised? So the ruling for 2025, January 2025, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, CFPB, finalized a rule to ban all medical debt from reports, but it was overturned July 2025. By who? This ain't Texas. It was a Texas federal court canceled the rule, arguing that the CFPB exceeded its authority. Girl, these people really be tripping. All right. The preemption battle in late 2025, the CFPB issued a new interpretation stating that the federal law, the FCRA, may override or preempt state level medical bans, creating a complex legal patchwork for 2026. So just know that medical bills have to be over $500, and you have to have they have to give you at least a year to try to work out something if it's insurance related, right? They give you that time to try to figure it out before they can report it on your credit report. So here's some examples, because I know that gets very murky and it's hard to understand. But if a buyer sees a $1,200 medical collection on their credit report and they don't remember it, or they believe that insurance should have paid it, well, they can dispute it with the credit bureau. And they'll say, this medical collection is inaccurate and does not belong to me. The bureau responds, verified. We verify this account is accurate. The buyer says, okay, I need a method of verification letter. And they're asking in that letter who verified this and what proof was used. Well, the bureau fails to provide the proof. The bureau sends a generic response with no documents and no details. And why this pretty much always wins is because they can't just be going to have your medical files all over the place. Miss Shelley, I know you know that. You work in the hospital industry, in the medical field. Demand a deletion. And you're going to say, if this is not deleted, I will file a complaint with the CFPB. Typically, that collection is removed. Medical collections are often verified electronically with no medical proof, no medical billing proof. And if you do get a situation where you do get the medical bills, go through all of that. Be like, I did not have 3 IVs when I was in the hospital. They didn't give me 5 aspirin, they gave me 2. Like, really get into it, into the details, and try to get, that bill down as much as you can. Okay, here's another one. A buyer has a credit card that was charged off in 2019 for $4,800. It's hurting their DTI and approval odds. Now, it's a charged off account. But remember when I said that anything that's on your credit report within the last 24 months, or that's a collection, the lender is going to use that amount and attach 5% to it as part of your DTI, right? Collections don't necessarily stop you from getting a mortgage, but it can hurt you and it can stop you if it takes your DTI out of whack. So for this, you'll dispute with the bureaus. They'll come back and say it's verified. You'll get the usual. And then you're going to ask for a method of verification letter. And then this time the bureau is going to respond and give you the creditor's name and confirm electronic verification. And now if they do that, if they do their job, you now know who to contact directly. So you're going to call, you're going to ask for an original signed agreement and your complete payment history, proof of the authority to report. That often gets skipped. That's very important. I need proof that you are authorized to report this. If the creditor cannot produce the contract, take it off. Okay. If a creditor sends you your balance summary and there's no signature, there's no initial agreement. Girl, I didn't ask you for this. I asked you for my contract. So it has to come off. If they are still being stubborn, then you can escalate it to the CFPB where it will get deleted. And typically your credit score is going to jump. I can't say 40 plus points, depends on how old it is. But if it's pretty recent, it's going to be at least that. Statement balances are not legal proof. All right, so here's one that I see pretty often, a utility bill. So a buyer sees a utility collection from Reliant. Bye-bye, I never opened that. I was 12. But it's actually a family member with a similar name. So what happens is, that ain't mine, okay? So we're going to dispute it and say it's not ours. They're going to say it's verified. You're going to ask for a method of verification letter. Who verified this and how was it verified? Who confirmed the identity? Because that's not me. The Bureau is going to provide weak verification, and I can tell you they're going to provide weak verification because guess what? It's not you, and you know it's not you. So anything that they provide, you know is going to be out of bounds. So the Bureau will say, we verified, matching names, but no social security confirmation. And this is why, going back to last week, you want to verify your personal information first. Okay. So at that point, the buyer points out that the file is mixed with someone else and ask them to delete it. If they don't, they move forward with filing a CFPB complaint, and that's not difficult at all. The account is removed on the basis of a mismatched identity. Name only verification is not valid verification. They need to go through the steps. So these are just examples. Let's talk about a car loan, a late payment from a 2024 car loan. Okay, but I was late then, but I've been on time since. But those lates are still hurting me. So this is why I say you have to have something good on top of the bad. You're going to dispute that with the credit bureaus. They're going to say it was verified. Those late payments are yours. They stand. You ask for a method of verification. And then from that point, if they say the account is verified, you're going to say, prove it. Show me how you verified it. This is not another dispute. This is a legal request for transparency under the FCRA. So what's going to happen is you're going to tell them, I do not want you to send this to the credit bureaus, to the creditor electronically. I want you to call. Y'all know they're not going to call. So once that happens, because these verifications are automated and they do not involve documents, if they're automated, it takes only seconds. That's not what we want. This is so important. This is this impacts my livelihood, my credit scores. I want you to take the time to do it right, because you could be messing me up in my whole financial life, right? So once they come back and they show you their hand and you've created your paper trail, this is going to open the door to deletion if they can't fully comply. All right. All right, so at this point, we focused on credit defense. We've talked about how to identify inaccurate information, how to dispute things properly, and what to do when the credit bureaus respond with verified. That work matters because no one should be penalized for information that can't be proven. But here's where what I want you to understand clearly. Disputing credit does not mean you stop building credit. Again, we're going to stop hoping for a better score and start demanding it. So while the bad is being challenged, the good still has to be happening in the background. That's the shift. So week 4 was about protecting your credit file. Week 5 is about strengthening it at the same time. We're not starting over, we're just leveling up. So here are some questions and answers. So here's a frequently asked question. If you dispute a medical bill while you're in the middle of a mortgage application, will it freeze your approval? Lenders often require all of that verbiage, account under dispute. They want to see your real score. Okay. So they want to see my real example, hair. Right? They want me to take the wigs off, the weave out, the braids out. They want to see your real true score without all of that account is under dispute because it could add fluff to the numbers. It does add fluff to the numbers. So there can be no active disputes while you are in the mortgage application process. So all that has to be done and all that verbiage has to be removed before, okay? Another one, I have an $800 medical collection. If I pay it down to $450 today, will it automatically disappear from my credit report because it's $500? No. The $500 rule applies to the original balance. All right. Another question. My lender says my score is a 635, but my app says it's 680. Ooh, girl. Which one should I use when writing my letters? So we advise you to go to myfico.com because those are the scores that mortgage lenders look at. We want to compare apples to apples. We want to see the numbers that they're seeing. So a lot of those apps are not using the same data. You have to make sure that you're using my FICO, Vantage Score, credit wise, all of those things. They're good to monitor your reports, but in your files, but they're not the same as my FICO. All right, should I call the collection agency first or should I start with a letter to the bureaus? So usually starting with the bureaus preserve your rights under the Fair Credit Reporting Act. What magic words do I need to include in my letter to make sure they don't just send me a generic verified response? Focus on section 609 or method of verification requests. Again, I said this is where Chat GPT comes in. I'm talking about clutch. So you can talk to Chat GPT, let them know I want to, repair my credit and get my scores up. I have this account. Again, you can take a picture of it with your phone, scan it, have your phone scan it and upload it and tell them using section 609 of the Fair Credit Reporting Act, I need to generate a letter that gives me the best opportunity of getting this removed. All right. All right, so here's another one, and this has truly happened, but not with the hospital, with the school. They had a client who was going to a cosmetology school. I found an error, but the hospital is closed. Who do I send my dispute letter to if the original furniture no longer exists? If I use the pay for delete script and they agree to do it over the phone, is that enough to take to my lender? Okay, so at the hospital, if they're closed, you have the best chance of getting that removed because when they say they verified, who you verify with because it's closed. For this particular client who was at the cosmetology school, we pulled up the Google information. We pulled up the SOS website for that business and showed when they went out of business, and that was submitted to the credit bureaus after they told us that they verified it. And we were like, well, you verified it, but who did you talk to? Because it's closed. And so it was removed. Okay. Okay, so if you use a pay for delete script and they agree to it over the phone, is that enough to take to your lender? You're going to need written proof from the credit bureaus or the creditor. Okay. Is there a specific script to use for rapid rescoring so I can hit my target score? Rapid rescoring is for mortgage lenders. That has nothing to do with consumers. Okay. Another one, I heard the medical debt ban was overturned in court in the last year. Does that mean my old dispute letters from 2024 are now useless? The July 2025 court ruling changed the action plan for 2026. So again, this is where ChatGPT comes in because they know all of that. Okay. So if you're asking them to write your dispute letters, give them as much information as possible. If my clients coming to me and they're like, you know what, this is too much credit repair, I just want you to do it. I'm telling you, that's literally what I will be doing. So here's some resources for our clients. You should have gotten the covers of the Ultimate Credit Repair Guide. That's a really good one. We have a lot of templates in there. The mortgage readiness checklist, you'll get those things right after, what's today? Friday, you'll get these. And then the credit mastery plan toolkit, you're going to get that. If you're ready, I know it's week 4, but if you feel like you're ready or you just want a free consultation to talk things out and get a plan that's customized to you, you can scan here, schedule a consultation, and it's free. Once you're ready, you're going to get, once your scores are ready, you're going to get an Are You Ready to Buy a Home guide. So again, on Mondays, we want to stay connected because we want to talk about anything that you want to talk about. So if you want to ask a question that just popped up in your head, after this goes off, I should have asked her this. I should have asked. You can do that. And it doesn't just have to be related to I want to buy a house. It could be credit repair related. It could be I want to get ready to buy a home. Any of those things about your home ownership journey. Once you are in your home, if you have questions, girl, listen, ice baby, the fake ice, fake freeze we had, you can ask questions about how can I protect my home? What things should I be doing? Any question you have, you'll be able to chat with me on Monday. And then also just know that you can call, text, or email me any other time after that as well. So coming up next week, what happens while your disputes are working? We kind of gave you a little teaser. You can actively build positive credit while you are disputing things because we have to have both of them go hand in hand in order for this thing to work. Okay, which is again why I say you need to have at least 4 months of good payment history before you are able to say, okay, boom, I'm ready for credit repair. It needs to be show me that you're ready. So next week we're going to tell you what to add, what to avoid, and when to move. Most people think disputes are the end of the process, but next week we're showing you how the progress actually happens. So again, make sure that you are here, same time, same place, 7 p.m. If you want to come a little early, we typically try to get on about 6:30 and, pregame. We'll be listening to music or whatever. But if you have some questions, you can ask those questions prior to the class starting. I hope you got some great information. I hope that it was clear for you, crystal clear for you. I see some people texting me that they weren't able to get in. Okay. Um, I don't know. So anywho, so there's that. Does anyone have any questions? I know it was a lot. Thumbs up, thumbs down in the chat. Okay. Let me see. I'm gonna give you guys a minute to let me know. Thank you so much, ladies, because we had all ladies. Okay. Ladies love real estate. Okay. Ladies love growth. So thank y'all so much for tuning in. Let me let you know that if you have someone that if they are wanting to just figure out how they can build their financial future better, it has to start with good credit. And so we are advocates of that. We are supporters of that. We want to make sure that everybody who wants better scores gets better scores. So that's why on this channel and here Beyond the Home, we do not gatekeep, honey. If God gave it to us, we're going to give it to you. That's how you grow. That's what we do. So anybody that you think would benefit from this webinar series, please forward them the link or text me and I can send it to them, whatever. But we want you to know and remember that I, Daphne Brown, am always ready and willing to enable you to find your way home. Till next Wednesday, guys. Bye. If you've missed any of the live sessions of the webinar, you can check it out here.